Well, guys, this is the new project. 1953 A40 Mack. Originally it had a big 6-cylinder, I shouldn't say big, 377 cubic inch 6-cylinder flathead. So the first order of business is, well, let's try and get it running. Supposedly this engine has run since it's been in here. Like I said, 24 valve, 5.9 Cummins. It's out of a school bus, so it has the air compressor. This truck does have air brakes. That engine already had the air compressor on it from the school bus, and that made life a little easier for them. Let's see what we can make happen. Not sure what all we're gonna find. Well, there's definitely no fuel there. Trying to lube that O-ring, but I have a little bit of diesel gas and some fuel line. I was gonna hook up and see if we can at least get it to prime, and I'll have to grab a battery out of the Ford. I don't have an extra Group 31 here. And toss it in there and see what happens. All right, we got us a battery. Had to steal it out of the poor Ford. She loves to donate to these causes. But there's a master switch in here. I guess let's see what happens. Is anything happening? If a key on, we know that this isn't plugged in. And I don't know too much about these engines, so sorry. Let's get this fender out of the way. There wasn't too much holding it on. Whoopsies. Need that hooked up. What do you think, Gilgle? This must be all the accessories. Gilgle? Round 2. Oh shit. Is that just a low air buzzer? Does not sound like a great low air buzzer, but maybe that's the low air buzzer. Better investigate that a bit. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do a little Googling, see what I can find a wiring diagram for this era, and start tracing some wires, checking things out, because right now basically nothing happens. The Kaiser buzzer is making noise. I think it's just low air pressure, like it should be, I think is what that is. So as far as that goes, it's working properly. The starter switch won't try to do anything, and the lift pump won't ever kick on, so I really don't think we're getting the proper signals out to the engine. I mean, really cranking over is a whole separate issue, because that's just the solenoid from the key down to the starter. It has nothing to do with the computer. It sees it's cranking and deals with it at that point, as long as it has the ignition source telling it it's in run mode. So we'll do some research, and we'll start doing some wire troubleshooting, and ultimately gonna have to redo a lot of this wiring to make it hold up to any amount of rain. Alrighty, so I'm gonna start trying to hash out some of our wiring issues. This is basically the breakout of everything on the right plug of the ECM here. And the school bus that this engine was in, they put this nice chassis harness here, this round connector. And what I want to do is start tracing out, basically the important things here are that you have the grounds, an always on power, and a switched power. And I want to check where these wires are going, and that is what we have. This I know is the battery. So what I want to check here is basically that we have the always powered and the switched and the ground connections properly hooked up to this round connector from the bus. I know that this top one is just straight battery power with a nice big, I don't know what that is, probably 6 gauge, 4 gauge wire. Oh, 2 gauge. Yeah, nice heavy wire coming up there. And none of these are hooked to that. Even though these are fuses in here, so this is giving fused power to the ECM if it was moved up there. So I want to basically, I'm going to take the meter and I'm going to see on the truck here what is hot all the time and then what is switched, if anything is switched coming from the ignition switch, and make sure we're getting power and then the switched power, because the ECM is not even trying to run the lift pump right now. So evidently it doesn't have power or the switched power coming to it telling it to get ready to start. So that's what I want to start with. Set this up here, maybe you guys can see it, I don't know. Maybe with the backlight on it'll help. So if we go to ground and this hot here, we should have 12 volts. We do. Are either of these hot all the time? No. That one is. Okay, so that is our hot power. Must be going through a fuse in the dash of the truck. So our hot power here goes to here. I'm going to start tracing back some of the wiring there and how that is going to the ECM. I guess to that point though, if I key on, that means we should be getting switched power here. For whatever reason, we got one wire there, and then we also are going to get the switched power here. Like I said, there's nothing there right now. Yeah, let's turn the key on. I think that buzzing is the low air buzzer, hopefully. Otherwise something's real mad. Yeah, that's only giving us 4 volts. So we got some issues going on there. Either with the key inside, that's 12. And anything else is switched out here. I mean, for the sake of what we're trying to do, I think I might even just move these down to the hot. I'll shut that racket off. For the sake of seeing does the transfer pump kick on, I can move the switched wires down here to the hot wire and see if the transfer pump kicks on. I think our 70-year-old rusty connectors and terminal strip here are a bit questionable. Pretty sure we're like bolted to a piece of rubber. A little bit of sparkage. Which oddly we are still not getting any transfer pump. So I think I want to make sure that this is wired properly, because I question if our hot and our switched are wired right now to where they should be at all. So I guess the first step is unplug this guy and start tracing out. Oh yeah, there's some real ugly wires here. I guess an honest question is the computer fried due to problems with this wiring? It's probably a legitimate ask, which I hope it's not. But we can go ahead and start pinning this guy out, this round connector out to this connector here. I'm gonna go ahead and unhook that and start checking the wires. All right, so with a little more investigation, this drawing was in the notes from the previous owner, so he had kind of worked out some of this. Some of it I agreed with, some I don't. This one page that was with it too kind of breaks out from the ECM to the letters on that round connector, which I verified a couple. Like the center pin is A, is the key, and that pins out on the ECM to the keyed one, which is pin number 5. on that 50 pin connector going into the ECM. So that works out. So basically I called out A is keyed, S, M, B, C, and D are always positive. P, W, E, F, H are always ground. And that should be enough for the computer. I'm gonna go ahead and verify what all we got. Coming up here, obviously, you know, I grabbed on this wire and it pulled right out of there. So we got some fishy things going on. I'm just gonna open up some of this loom here and try to see what we got. All right, so I guess let's begin finding out what we don't know. Keep finding out what we don't know. Unplug this thing. So we know A is the keyed one. And A is this wire here. This little red wire, which is this wire. That's A, right in the middle of this connector. Now, I'm kind of questioning why was another keyed one, and now that's not a good key. We were getting like 4 volts when I checked that earlier, so that's not a great key. All the positive wires, I guess, are all the other red wires, which I'm just going to start checking letters and see what we have there. S, W, B, C, D. See if anything makes sense. I think this is the right tool. I think this is the same as what the Cat ECM is in the Ford, this Deutsch. Yep. So what that does is that basically goes in there, and there's little fingers that trap that ridge. When you put that tool in, it releases it. See, to make these connectors up, all you do is you buy these sockets, you strip a little bit of the wire, and you crimp that on there with a special tool, and then you just click it in here. And you can see it just locks in there. And these are really nice connectors because they're watertight. That rubber there seals against the insulation of the wire. And I really like them. Compared to a weather pack is what I was more familiar with. The Superliner has all weather packs on it. The Deutsch connectors are way nicer, I feel. The weather packs have these little fingers. You got to worry about getting them folded in there just right with the crimp tool. Where the weather pack, I'll end up showing it, I'm sure. We'll be redoing these. But like you can see, you can easily pull it out. There's a special tool that crimps down on that socket, and the other side has these male pins. It's just the same on this side. You're just slipping it over, crimping it, and clicking it in. But they work well. I like them. Unfortunately, that's as far as we're going to get tonight. I got to go home and go to bed. I think what we got going on is there's a relay that drives the fuel pump. They call it, or the injection pump. It's the VP44 relay. And there should be power on 6 and 7 on this plug. Now the problem is I can't really tell what that is. I can tell this pin is ground and nowhere else in there I'm getting power while holding the ignition wire on. I don't hear any relay clicking. So I feel like that relay is not here. And I don't know where it's supposed to be. So I'm going to do a little research on that, but I think that's our next place to head. We'll get her figured out. Finally, the aha moment we've been looking for. I start just unpeeling tape, and what do we find? Some freshly chopped off wires. One of which has continuity back to our hot pin on the VP44 plug. So that's our relay. I have some just regular old 12-volt relays in the back of the shop, so I'll just wire a pigtail onto this. So we have our coil here and our contact here. Go ahead and get that set up. That should give us, one of these will have power. I want to check that. One of these should have power coming from this plug, and the other one will be switched by the relay. The computer controls that. So pretty excited about that. Does not rule out having a bad lift pump. So it seems like we are getting power. I'll have to get that plug back in. I think we're getting power to the lift pump. This should fix getting power to the VP pump, unless there's communication error that stops it. But still, we were seeing 9 volts, so we'll figure it out. All right, so I made up a little extension piece to the relay that we're going to use, the VP44 pump relay. I'm just heat shrinking these butt connectors right now. I'll pull this loom up over the wire, and this will be able to mount the relay up on the firewall of the truck then. So if it would happen to go bad or whatever, it's serviceable in the future. Get everything nice and protected. All right, moment of truth. Let's see what happens. I don't really know what's going to happen here. Let's put these in. I mean, we should hear the relay click, but basically between these two pins, 7 and 8, you should get 12 volts when you key on. Key on, as in hold this to power. Oh, I hear it click, and we got 12 volts. Woohoo! All right, so that means the ECM giving the VP44 permission to run by clicking that relay. That's awesome. So now it's a matter of, is the electric transfer pump working? And go ahead and plug it back in. I'm gonna plug this guy back in. Okay. Put power on now. You can hear the pump click. Still not getting anything at the transfer pump. Not that I can hear. So, guess we really do need a new lift pump. I'm just amazed that it died at the time of installation or whatever has happened with this poor engine, but I have to start. At least we know the computer is alive enough to turn this relay on. I got us a shiny new lift pump here. Nice and cheap on old Rock Autos, only like 60 bucks. You could spend 300 or you could spend 60, so I figured, why not spend 60? Will this lift pump turn on? Let's give her the magic wire. Works good. I don't think we're getting anything through our super sweet. Oh, you know what? You still gotta turn the master switch on. Whoopsies. Our super sweet jump pack setup. Oh, it did something. And then it burned up. Maybe it only tries for a slight second and then you gotta bump it with a starter. Any experts out there know how these lift pumps behave? Yeah, I think that might be all you get until you crank it. That's more than the other pump gave us. Get her swapped out. New fuel pumps in, all hooked up. I'm not sure how many million cycles of 2 seconds of running until we can get this thing to prime. And you can see you gotta wait like a little bit. This seems to be your bleeder. Pick that up, and then there's the bleeder there. Yeah, it turns on for a half a second. Let's see if our sketchy alligator clips will do anything. Oh, we have power. Oh, there we go. Oh, we got fuel there. All over the floor. Oh, buddy. Whoops. Let's give her the beans. That is not enough beans. Still trying to pump now. Darn. We need more power. Problem is that's a those are stud connectors, and that's post. I don't know if the mighty jump pack has a prayer. At the moment, that's the best chance I got without going and tearing the battery out of something. Put power on the ignition. Contact. Oh, this sounds so sad. Ta-da! A nice antique, probably dead battery. But we can throw the charger on it and the jump pack. We'll make her happen. All right, let's key on. Give her the beans. Ah, just not quite enough. All right, let's see what the battery charger, an old wrinkly Group 31, and a jump pack all hooked together can do. Key on. Contact. Oh, I thought she was gonna go. Come on, girl. Contact. Just too much compression in the old girl. All right, the injectors are all cracked. Let's key on. And give her a whirl. We were getting fuel. I would like to get a little bit more fuel. We're definitely getting air. I couldn't get number 2. We're just gonna accept that. There we go. Getting some solid streams out now. Let our horrible batteries charge up a bit more. Would help if you hooked up the key. Turn the key on. Well, it's a lot better than we were. I'm gonna tighten them up. Key on. Contact. Contact. All right, I've relocated the booster pack to the starter. Maybe it'll help. Maybe I need to turn the key on. I bumped the button. Contact! That did not help. Round 85. Really? Nothing? Something's smoking. It's probably the starter. Not too bad. The mist of try is in the air. She's gonna go. This is the one. Why are you not even trying? She's so close. I'm starting to think, like Ben says about programming, if you find all the ways it won't work, you'll figure out the way it will. There it is! See how she does on the restart. That ain't bad. Does the throttle work? Sweet. Sweet. One thing I'm kind of realizing is we have no way of knowing if it's making oil pressure, but it is making air pressure very quickly. Made 60 pounds. Look at that! We have brakes. Ready to roll. Just need better than a Bluetooth drive shaft. Well guys, we got her going. I'm pretty excited about that. So more than anything, we had to fix some wires. There at the injection pump, it was missing that relay to give fuel to the VP44 pump, and the transfer pump was also bad. So kind of the plethora of issues we had to overcome here, and then prime a completely dry fuel system, but we're up and going now. Basically, I just need to rewire a lot of that stuff, get it cleaned up, put away. I ordered the correct size Deutsch pins. Those are smaller connectors on this ECM than the CAT ECMs are, so I did not have the correct stuff. I think that'll be in tomorrow and get that stuff rewired, but I'm leaving for Con Expo in a couple days, so she's gonna have to wait. Catch you next time.